Hey guys, welcome to Tablenauts. I'm Doolin, and if you're watching this, thank you so much for clicking on us, and I hope you have a great day. I have a very quick 3-game review for you all. One being a game that's actually currently on Kickstarter, so if you end up liking what I'm showing off, go and check them out. And then another game that I've actually have a gameplay video coming out of very soon. And then lastly, a game that actually has found its way into my top 5 games of game releases from this year. I know that it's not over yet, but I have a hard time believing this game will get beat out of that. So for the first game, if you know me, and you know also Emily, who's on the channel a lot as well, you know that a genre of games that we like is like puzzly mystery games. So we were actually sent this game, and it's the first of any murder mystery like style puzzly game that has been sent to us, and I hope that this is a trend that starts, because I loved getting one of these in the mail to like open up and go through. This was not paid for at all. They just sent it to us hoping that we would cover it. And lo and behold, we did, with 6 days left right now. I know we didn't get it out by the start of it, but you have 6 days left by the time this video comes out to go and back it potentially, or just hope that there's a late pledge possible. This is Body of Evidence by the Mysterious Package Company, and this is just a placeholder like box that they sent us. It's all prototype stuff, but as a person who's played a lot of these, it is very easy to get lost in sort of being very similar to all of the others. But this version, what all of these games has to have is something that sets it apart. And for this, for me, it was not only like just a whole lot of goodies in a box. And I don't know if you've ever played any game similar to this style of game, but a lot of people compare them to Exit and Unlock. And while I like Unlock, I actually am not a huge fan of Exit, for this reason, that the box doesn't have a lot of stuff in it that really draws you in. And this has tons of case files. It has tons of newspaper clippings and notes from police officers. And then the biggest and coolest thing is that it actually includes this cadaver, because you're actually acting as a coroner who's performing an autopsy and trying to discover how the person died. And while that sounds incredibly morbid, it's actually like incredibly fun, and it's not like at all like terrifying. There's no blood or anything. Like it's very clearly not a person, but it was still really cool having this extremely unique experience that I've played a lot of these games. I've played a lot of different versions. I'm thinking about Suspects. I'm thinking about Emerald Flame, which was a big one for us this year. Unlock series, Exit series, Echoes series. Like, this game sets itself apart because it learns from all of those other games. There are times where it's frustrating because the game is too long, and this one is about 2 to 3 hours. And not only that, if you hear that and you're like, I don't think I could sit down and play that for that long, it has a save system, and it doesn't call it that. It's actually played in 3 parts, and I think easily you could stop at the end of part 1, because it asks you to answer a question at the end of part 1, and if you get it right, you can stop. And that's kind of neat, because at the end of these 2 to 3 hours, a lot of times you're opening up an envelope hoping that after this 2 to 3 hours that you've connected all of the dots and you've discovered the answer. But sometimes when you check that envelope, you're wildly off, and then you know the answer, and it's a one-off game. And then guess what? You don't get to have any more fun, and you never actually solve the crime. Whereas this one, there are 3 parts, and as you go, you are for sure, before you can move to the next part, discovering something that is concrete about about evidence, about the facts of the case. And by the end of it, like, you are still having that moment where you're having to draw your own conclusions, but you have at least 3 parts where you have this concrete evidence. There's just been clearly a lot of love poured into this, and I wanted to make this video because I want to shout out when people do this genre really, really well. But don't take my word for it. Go check out their Kickstarter right now. It is Body of Evidence by Mysterious Package Company. And we're going to move on to our second game. Next up is a game that I only am playing right now because of a solo wheel experience that we've added to the channel, that I'm going to slowly go through a lot of these games that I enjoy playing solo with the anticipation of by the end of the year, I'm going to have my favorite solo games of all time ranked. I just need more time to play solo games, and if I'm playing them solo, I might as well also enjoy them with you. And so we created this wheel, we spun it, and the very first game that it landed on was Guild of Merchant Explorers. And I have to say, right off the bat, some of you might be thinking like, that's not a solo game. It has the capability of playing solo, and any game that's on this wheel, I actually threw on there if I currently enjoy playing it solo more than I enjoy playing it any other way. And Guild of Merchant Explorers is definitely that way. I don't know why this game gets like some negative coverage. Like people are saying, oh, it's just fine. It's fine for an AEG game. I think it's really, really good. I enjoy this game a lot. And essentially all you're doing is you have this beautiful looking map in front of you. A lot of people think it looks ugly. I love the art style in this game. Where you are trying to explore as far as you can from your central starting location by the end of 4 eras. You'll do so by these cards that will get drawn that will tell you, oh hey, this turn you can travel along 2 desert tiles, and the next one, oh, you can travel along 3 straight in a line water tiles. And as the game goes on, along with each era, you'll be drawing these really powerful cards that will allow you to be different than other players at the table, but you're playing solo, that doesn't matter. But essentially, it will allow you to do something a lot more powerful than the base draws of 2 desert tiles or 3 water tiles. Oftentimes, it can be, some of my favorite cards are discover as many water tiles in a straight line as you want. And that means if you've planned it out and you draw that card and you use that card well, you can go fully across the map, or like at least halfway across the map most cases, and get to places that you never like dreamed you would have gotten in that era. In order to score points though, you have to do a variety of different things. You can find treasure hidden in specific water parts that are where sunken ships are, or where ruins are. You can also go to travel to different cities that are there, and as long as you are in 2 different cities, the number on those cities get multiplied together, and that's how many points you get because you are a trade route for them. And then lastly, honestly the best way to set yourself up for future eras is to discover villages. And the way you do that is actually by fully exploring an area, meaning that every single desert tile in a section of 3 to maybe even 7 or 8 tiles you have discovered in that era. And if you do that, you actually get to take a little village token matching your color and place it on one of the empty spaces. This is incredibly important, especially early game, because every time you do that, you're getting a little bit of points, but at the same time, whenever the end of an era happens, every cube you've placed on your board gets removed except for the village tokens, meaning that if you don't discover any villages, you'll have to start back at the beginning every single time. Whereas if you've discovered villages, you can also start from those locations as well. It gives you the sense of not only exploration, but also increasing your ability and your power every single era, and I love that feeling. On top of that, there are this race mechanic, whereas if you're in a group, you are racing to fulfill these objectives first. It might be something along the lines of discover point A and point D at the same time, or make sure that you have at least 3 villages in desert tiles. If you do that first, you announce it and you get to take the 10 points rather than the 5 points that will be available for everyone else. In solo mode, there are ways as the game goes on that just those get covered up, and you have to do all 3 of them by the end of the game in order to even be counted as potentially winning the game. I think this game is incredibly slept on. I think that this is awesome. It gives me the feelings of almost a roll and write, but just with tokens instead. And it's an incredibly peaceful and calming and relaxing solo game that if you are looking for a puzzle, if you are looking for something that would be a lot of fun to have over or play over coffee in the morning, like absolutely get Guild of Merchant Explorers and give it a try. All right, time for the game that currently sits at number 3 for games released this year, just behind Earth and also Freelancers by Plaid Hat Games. This is by Bitewing Games, Trailblazers. And this game, if you've not seen it before, packs quite a bit of game into one box. In fact, most of the box is actually covered in expansion meeples that are little animals that are absolutely so cute. But my favorite thing about this game is just the thinkiness of the base game itself. Whether you're playing with a group and you're legitimately drafting cards and passing them to other players and then using them to build out your paths, or you're playing solo and getting a whole new fresh set of cards every single time that you draw some and you draft some. This is an incredibly thinky, crunchy, but also simple at the same time game to play. At its core, it's just a drafting tile placement. I mean, it's cards, but they're basically tiles game. And you are, as a trailblazer for a park, trying to build hiking trails, kayak trails, and biking trails. And you have these hubs that are the start of each of them. And the rules are simple. It is build these out, build hiking trails based off of the hiking start, build biking trails based off of the biking start. But they all always have to return because, of course, whenever you go on these trails, you don't want to stop and be stranded in the middle of nowhere. You want to return back to home base. With each tile, though, card having multiple colors of trails on each of them, and also the ability to place your cards on top of each other in any way you want for the most part. This game presents so much thinkiness on your turn, even though it is as simple as take 2 cards, place them on your board, pass. I think the real draw of this game, especially if you're going to play it not solo, is the racing of the objectives that everybody is going for. This is how you really can actually interact with other players. You're not blocking them off from like being able to do anything on their board. You can't manipulate their tiles at all, but what you can do is steal that card or that objective and get the highest amount of points possible on it before everybody else, blocking them from getting that high score, whereas they have to now settle for the lower one. Every single time I've played this not solo, that has been the difference maker. And so that race to get those objectives is a very, very fun aspect of this game that causes people to be careful about what they're passing to other players. Sure, I found the perfect card to end one of my kayak trails, but right now I know that one player is very close to finishing that biking loop that's going to score them the most amount of points, and so instead of passing him that perfect card that they need, I'm going to draft it this turn and try to finish it myself. Like I said before though, this is very thinky, and so if you aren't into the genre yet, or you're used to some of these lighter games and that's more your speed, then stick with that. Trailblazers might not be for you, but if you've played a lot of lighter tile placement games and you're just like, I want some more crunch, I'll say for me, Trailblazers is a game that will always be in my collection. And it, again, number 3 for this year right now, and it's gonna be probably in my top 50 whenever we actually get around to making that video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked any of what you just saw, I ask that you please like and subscribe, and also consider joining our Discord where we can talk to you about games all the time. You can add us 24/7, and of course we're not going to answer 24/7, but we'll eventually get around to it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.